We're all different, so there must be thousands or maybe millions of different ways to overcome diabetes, right? Wrong. Well, we're going to address that question of the fact that we're all different and just how many ways are there to beat diabetes. But before we do, I want to share some reports that have come in from our 2022 challenge. We started February 1. We closed it on July 31st. And people have been sending in all kinds of victory reports, really not hearing any negative reports. There are some that didn't quite make it to the 5s, but they're still happy that they've made significant progress. So anyway, I want to share these quickly. I'm going to have to try to rush through them and then get to some other points and an exciting announcement that I want to make. So this is from a lady. Hi, Dennis and Benedict. I was originally diagnosed with diabetes with an A1C of 9.3. At the end of the challenge, my A1C is currently 5.7. Thank you for having the challenge, and thank you for helping thousands of people. Now, if you didn't know anything about diabetes, those would just be numbers. 9.3 before the challenge, 5.7 after the challenge, 6 months' time. But knowing diabetes the way that I do and the way that many of you do, that is a huge improvement. I mean, that's going from where you're beating your body up every day, your health is being demolished, to the point where you have made it into a fairly safe zone. Here's another one. This is from a man. My A1C went from 9.7 to 4.8. Wow, we don't hear too many in the 4s, and I don't even talk much about a 4s club. To me, if you can get into the 5s, you're doing very, very well, but he made it to 4.8. He says, I can't thank you enough. There's something about your videos that holds my attention. Well, I like that, and I like to think that's the grace of God. He says, I followed your advice all the way, a 10. May God bless you and keep you. Now, I asked people to rank or to rate how closely they followed the guidelines for this challenge. I said 0 means you didn't follow it at all. Up to 10 means you followed it almost to the letter. So this guy says, I followed it all the way. I give myself a 10 on the way I followed the guidelines. And, of course, there was a diet that went along with it, a menu plan. He says it was a 10. Well, he certainly got the results. 9.7 at the beginning, 4.8, which is just about perfection. Here's a lady who says, I turned 60 halfway through the challenge. I discovered your channel the day before the cutoff date in January. Call it kismet or divine intervention, whichever it was. I was fortunate. I was feeling desperate as I had just gotten results from an urgent care appointment due to not feeling well. My blood pressure was 187 over 100. I had never had high blood pressure like that in the past. I was frightened. Then I got my blood test back. My A1C was 6.7, which is just over the diabetic boundary. Triglycerides at 167, and I was possibly looking at the need for blood pressure and diabetes medications. Fear became my motivator. She says, I was just about to end the medication regimen I had been taking the last 5 years due to a second bout of breast cancer. The last thing I wanted was more pills for the rest of my life. The good news is I immediately started to lose weight. My blood pressure returned to normal in the first 30 days. Repeat. My blood pressure returned to normal in the first 30 days. Medication averted, she says with an exclamation point. After 3 months, I'd lost 25 pounds. I marked it with donation to Spirit of Grace, $1 a pound. I followed the menu at about a 9.9 out of 10 rate. Wow, well, that is really, really following it closely. I was wondering, and I hadn't really asked that before, just how closely are people following the menus and the guidelines? She says 9.9 out of 10. Well, I'd say that's great. She said, the only thing I did was I skipped the chia seed pudding as the texture and the almond milk grossed me out. So, well, you're allowed. There's always substitutions you can make. She says, I'm not a milk fan. Otherwise, I enjoyed the new ways of cooking. The desserts were awesome. And we did have keto desserts that will not spike blood sugar much, and yet they are sweet and tasty. Didn't allow it for every night, but I allowed it for 2 nights per week over the weekend. She said, I gave the majority of my pantry away, filled it with keto-friendly foods and ingredients. My family is also embracing the new way of eating. My spouse has lost 39 pounds. So he was just kind of along for the ride, and boom, 39-pound weight loss. And we're assuming he needed to lose those pounds. Long story short, I had a physical in June. I lost a total of 48 pounds. My A1C is 5.6. So now below pre-diabetic. Triglycerides have gone from 167, at the beginning, 87 now. Triglycerides have plummeted, which is very, very common. It just happens all the time. So common that it would shock me and really surprise me if someone says I went keto or I went very low carb and my triglycerides rose. It just doesn't hardly ever happen. So 5.6 A1C, 87 triglycerides. She says, that's a turnaround for sure. I owe it all to you and your lovely wife for giving me the tools and information to get where I am today. I'll always be grateful. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Here's another lady. This woman says, good morning. God bless you. I'm another of your success stories. And I thank God I found your channel just in time. I started the challenge with you on February 1. So she was from the beginning with a new type 2 diagnosis, an A1C of 8.1, fasting blood sugar of 153. So she's just found out she's diabetic. Very high A1C of 8.1. I know we hear worse, but 8.1 is not good at all. 153 fasting. I followed the challenge pretty closely, she says. I'd say about 8 out of 10, so pretty good. At my last doctor's appointment, I had lost 30 pounds. My A1C was now 5.3, fasting glucose 111, no more metformin, she says in capital letters with two exclamation points at the end. No more metformin. A1C 5.3, fasting glucose 111. She says, I'll go for my first post-challenge check in 2 weeks, and I expect to see even more progress. Praise God. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, we're just getting these all the time. This man says, I was diagnosed with diabetes approximately 90 days back. So he was diagnosed in April of this year with a high A1C score of 14 that made my doctor prescribe all kinds of medication. 14. That's just about as bad as it gets. That is severe, radical, raging, crazy high diabetes, an A1C of 14. That's where your fasting glucose is, maybe 300 or so? He says, I came home dejected. My wife asked me to accept my fate and do everything I can to just live with this condition. Now, folks, I believe in listening to your wife, and God has given us a tremendous gift when he joined us together with our wives. And the Bible says, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. But in this case, her advice was a bit off the mark. She said, just accept your fate. Just live with your condition. But he didn't want to do that. He says, I turned on YouTube that night. I found your channel. I binge watched it and transformed myself into a low-carb, high-fat person overnight. Didn't take this guy long at all. He said there was no turning back. I bought 2 Mike the Meters. I got myself a Freestyle Libre 2.0. I started living the low-carb life for a few weeks. I controlled my glucose level between 80 to 120. Then I gunned for a 70 to 95 range. So he wasn't, he made tremendous progress between 80 and 120 for his fasting. But he says, no, that's not good enough. I want to be between 70 and 95. I adhered to everything for 2 months, did a Walgreens A1C test. After 60 days, result was a 7. So I was down 7 points in 60 days. So 2 months' time, he's down to a 7. But he says, I got my A1C done yesterday, which this was sent to me at the end of July. The score was 5.4. Now, let's get to the point I made at the beginning of this video, where a lot of people will say things like, we're all different, and our approach should be different. So we need a customized approach to beat diabetes. This one may need this kind of a diet, and this one may need that kind of a diet, and this one may need to do this, and this one, time-restricted eating may work, but this one they may not. And by the time they get done talking like this, after a while, you're like, wow, what do I do? If we're all different and we all need a different approach, how am I ever going to know what is my specific approach? And those kind of people will either not tell you or they'll give you some strange formula for figuring out your approach. So let me give you one of my customized Dennis Pollock illustrations. Let's imagine you go into a large auditorium and there, seated in that auditorium in 300 chairs are 300 people that all have hammers in their hands, and they have the crazy habit of hitting their heads with hammers, but their hammers are all different. Some have hammers with blue handles, some with green handles, some just have varnished handles. Some have ball peen hammers, some have regular hammers, some have larger type hammers, just all kinds of different hammers. And there are all kinds of different people. Some are large and overweight, some are slim, some are black, some are white, some are Asian, some are Hispanic, some are older, some are younger. It's an auditorium filled with different kinds of people and different kinds of hammers, but the one thing they have in common, they're all hitting themselves in the head with hammers. And you could say, well, they're all so different. I mean, you've got blacks, you've got whites, you've got Hispanics, you've got Asians, you've got big hammers and small hammers and orange hammers and green hammers. They each need an individual approach to beat this problem that's causing these terrible headaches and this misery and the sore head they're living with constantly. They need an individualized approach. And my thought is, no, they don't. I don't care if they're using a ball peen hammer or a sledgehammer, a green hammer or a white hammer. I don't care if they're a large person or a small person, if they're Asian or Hispanic or black or white. I don't care. I just have one thing to say to all these 300 people sitting in this auditorium hitting themselves with hammers. Stop. Stop hitting yourself on the head with a hammer. And guess what? After a while, all those headaches and that sore head is going to go away. So the same approach will work with all kinds of people. Now, with this Beat Diabetes Challenge we did in February through the end of July of this year, guess what? I've been hearing from blacks and whites and Hispanics and Asians, and that goes throughout the time of this Beat Diabetes YouTube channels. And if you watch some of my videos, you'll find people of all persuasion. Some are extremely overweight, some are on the slim side, some are just normal. Most are overweight, I will grant that, but not all. Some are older, in their 70s. I even interviewed an 85-year-old woman, but I've also interviewed people in their 30s and 40s. So lots of different people. And in this challenge, we got reports of victory from lots of different kinds of people. And yet there were the same basic components to this challenge. So it was not an individualized approach. I didn't come to their house and take an inventory and ask them all kinds of questions and decide, okay, you're older and you're white, but you're younger and you're black and you're middle-aged and you're Hispanic. I didn't do any of that. I just gave them 8 pillars. And we'll put a link in the description to those 8 pillars so you can read them or you can watch the video about that. 8 pillars that if you will apply to your life, you'll see victory. Because, my friend, the hammer that's causing us all headaches and even worse is the hammer of overdosing on high-carb, high-processed junk foods with lots of sugar. And, of course, sugar is a carb. And it doesn't matter your race or your age or anything else. If you are overdosing on carbohydrates, let me say it again, overdosing on carbohydrates. Read my lips, overdosing on carbohydrates. And guess what? Almost all of America and much of the world is doing exactly that. Then the simple remedy is stop overdosing. Stop eating so many carbs, and especially the junk carbs and the processed carbs and all the sugar. Just give it up. Give it a rest, and you will find victory. And so the main components are, of course, a 6-hour eating window. We're restricting our challengees to 2 meals a day. You're allowed bulletproof coffee for that third meal, but 2 of those meals need to be within 6 hours, and they need to be low carb. So we're employing time-restricted eating, and we are asking you that when you do eat, you eat very low carb, and we're giving you menus to eat. And if you say, well, Dennis, that particular food on that day, I can't stand it. I mean, you prescribed some kind of keto meatloaf, and I hate meatloaf of all kinds, keto, schmeato. I don't want to eat meatloaf. Well, that's fine. Any meat will work as long as it doesn't have a bread coating, and any salad or any group of low-carb vegetables will work. Chaffles, eat them freely. A chaffle is basically shredded cheese and an egg, and you can throw in a little almond flour if you want to, and you can eat 1, 2, 3. You say, I'm not hungry. Eat another chaffle, or I'm not hungry. Eat 2 more eggs, or I'm not hungry. Eat more meat. There's just all kinds of ways you can fill up. That's the beauty of the menu plan that I'm recommending is you're not to starve yourself. In fact, I don't want you to. I don't want you to get too careful about how much you eat. If you're really overweight, then yeah, you want to be somewhat moderate about that, but that's not the focus at all. So anyway, we're starting our fall semester. I've just had so many people email me, and they just want to be part of the challenge. And at first I was like, well, I'll send you the diet and you're on your own. You can do it. And after a while, I got convicted. And it's like, no, Dennis, you can't do that. You've got to do more for these people than just send them a diet and let them be on their own. Now, I don't have quite as much time to make extra videos like I did the first time around, but here's what I'm going to do. Every week, I'm going to send you an email with links to videos. And this is the new part of the program, the new part of this challenge, 2022 challenge part B. Not that I didn't send links before, but I'm going to be more consistent, and that's going to be at the heart of it. So you won't hear as much from me. I won't make a lot of extra videos, but I plan to continue making the Beat Diabetes videos I always do. But I'm going to send you links. And here's the deal. Sometimes people ask me, all right, I'm a new diabetic, and you've made something like 350 videos, but I can't watch them all at once. What are the most important videos that I can watch? And what I intend to do is to send you links every week. I'm going to rate them myself. I'm going to look over all 300 plus videos that I've made thus far, and I'm going to rate them. What's the number one most important video? What's the number two? Up to about 3 months, September, October, 4 months worth. It's a 4-month challenge. Up to about 4 months worth of once a week, sending you 2 videos of mine, links to 2 videos I want you to watch. I insist, don't become part of this challenge. If you're so lazy and so apathetic, you don't want to watch some videos I'm going to recommend. I'm also going to send you links to doctors and nutritionists and keto experts, low-carb experts, guys like Jason Fung, Dr. Bernstein, and I'm going to look at some of their videos and say which are the most important. So you're going to be watching videos. You're going to be given a diet. You say, how do I get to be a part of this? Well, you need to sign up for the 2022 challenge. Send me an email. And send that email to grace@spiritofgrace.org, grace@spiritofgrace.org. And you don't have to write a long paragraph or tell me your story. In the subject line, write the words, count me in, and we'll sign you up for the 2022 challenge. Again, you're going to have a lot of videos to watch. So if you're not willing to sit down and watch some videos, don't sign up. But if you're willing to sit down and watch some videos, and if you're willing to do the menu as close as you reasonably can, then by all means, feel free to sign up. I look forward to hearing more reports like these, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're getting them all over the place. A lot of it is on you. You really need to be about an 8, 9, or a 10 in ranking of following closely the guidelines and the 8 pillars to beating diabetes. So it starts September 1. So get signed up, and we will put you on an email list and send you out 1 email per week, the Lord willing. And we'll send you links. We'll send you diets for September, October, November, December. And guess what? This works out beautifully because by the end of December, what do we have? We have Christmas, right? What a beautiful Christmas gift you can give yourself to become non-diabetic. And that's at the heart of this challenge. It's only 4 months. So the first challenge was get in the 5s in 6 months. But this challenge is become non-diabetic. That is below 6.5. I think most of you will get in the 5s if you'll adhere to the guidelines. But at least become non-diabetic. And if you're at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 A1C, and you get below 6.5 into the low 6s or upper 5s or mid 5s, you have done yourself a world of good, and that will be a fantastic Christmas present. God bless. Look forward to communicating with you.